Life's biggest mystery is not found in death. It is found in the key to living. What are you doing here? Who are you? Are you truly ready to find out? We start to ask ourselves these questions once we're ready to begin walking on our own, our personal cosmic path here on Earth. The path that activates us into a deeper, higher soul alignment. Your divine purpose helps you, the soul, to remember its reason why, its reason for incarnation, and reason for choosing to experience physical consciousness in this time and place. So today, I, Priestess Ishtar, am helping you to set the tone towards finding out what is your divine purpose. The difference between divine and life purpose. Your divine purpose. Your divine purpose is directly connected to your soul's mission. It's the mission as to why you chose to become the name, the person, the image, the character, or the personal identity that you call the self. It is your hidden and often suppressed reason for your beingness. It's really your reason for being. It's the ultimate, at the end of the day, why factor. It's the ultimate reason for your existence. It's why every day you still wake up. Now, you can easily identify this through numerology by looking at your soul number. That's one way for you to identify what your soul's divine purpose is. Another thing that you can do is you can look into astrology. By looking at your astrological natal birth chart, there are two placements. There is the Chiron as well as the North Node placements. Now, in these placements, you are able to identify what you are here to heal. Now, under Chiron, Chiron teaches us what we came here to heal from our previous incarnations, the things that we need to work on to get to a soul mastery level of the self. Your North Node is your focus in this lifetime. So while the Chiron is the why in your birth chart, the North Node explains the how. How are you going to do it? By focusing and attuning your self-development, your personal self-development plan to target those individual areas in your life. Providing an example, if you have a North Node in Capricorn, then your focus would be to be more disciplined, to work diligently, to work very, very structured, and work in a disciplined manner towards a long-term goal. Now, let's take a look at your life purpose and how this differs from your divine purpose, because they may seem similar, but the soul wants one thing, but your life on the spiritual level, on the physical manifested level, can also desire other things. Now, before we get into that, I'm sure you might be wanting to know a little bit more about myself. As I said before, I am Priestess Ishtar. I am a spiritual teacher, I am a spiritual healer, and I'm also a personal advisor and motivator. I do professionally help others heal themselves by working on their mental emotional, and spiritual wellness. One of the ways that I do that is through personal sessions, which you can book by going to my website here, www.lovenaturally.com/book me. You'll find an array of services ranging from Reiki through energy healing to more of the tarot, divination, and consultation services. But they don't just stop there. I also have a free service that I'm very proud of offering right now while it is still available, which is your free alignment call. There are no gimmicks and no attachments to this one. I will have a testimonial page up very soon where you will see how well how much I've helped so many people from across the world. Now, again, during this free alignment call, we can discuss anything that is aligned with your emotional, mental, or spiritual development goals. And again, there are no calls at the end where I ask you to join a coaching club. It's literally just your time to get free help. And I offer this once to every new customer or client that I work with. Okay. So take advantage while supplies last. Getting back to that life purpose. Now, your life purpose, as we said, it's different from your divine purpose. How the life purpose is expressed is through your dharma. Now, your dharma is how you produce work in this lifetime. Okay. Now, your dharma does change from life to life. Can it from life to life? From lifetime to lifetime. My brain is going too fast for my mouth. From lifetime to lifetime. Now, sometimes what I wanted to say to follow that up was your dharmic duty, or I'll refer to it as duty, because dharma can mean different things in depending on which philosophy that you're looking at it as. However, your duty in this lifetime can be repetitive. You can find that you've been a farmer for the past 3 lifetimes. In your incarnation, if you got a spiritual Akashic reading or a past life regressional reading from someone who specializes in that, or you may notice that your duty or your dharmic patterns change over each lifetime. Maybe you have a multitude of different skills, or perhaps you've always found yourself working in a particular type of field that you just feel a natural calling towards. Maybe you're really good at singing, dancing, and acting. You're like a triple threat. That could be reflective of you having incarnated in different lifetimes, mastering a different talent each lifetime. However, it coming together in a full accumulative outward expression in this lifetime. Now, I hope I'm not losing you, so let's move forward. The reason that we have a life purpose, which separates and differs from our divine purposes, your life purpose is connected to your moral duty. It's often tied to your karmic misfortunes and fortunes from your last life. Now, if you're someone who doesn't believe in karma, well, if you've come back to earth, you are naturally in the karmic ties of the universal law, as stated in the Kabbalion. So there's no escaping karma, but it is a way to work karmic energy in your favor. Okay. And one of the ways is by detesting the law of karma, so that way you can master it. But this is not a lesson on the universal principles. This is a lesson on your ability to show commitment, to show dedication, to give back to your community, to be a humanitarian member, and however you are able to provide that service back out into the world. It could be you are the pillar in your family. It could be that you are an active service member in the military. It could be that you are someone who works and offers your time at a local soup kitchen, or you work in a volunteer setting where you're able to plant trees, etc. Things like that. Maybe you adopt or feed the stray animals, or give them somewhere warm to sleep in the colder seasons. So it's all about giving back, and that's a part of our life purpose, believe it or not. Again, your life purpose can show up in a way where you are an active, I would say, or a strong pinnacle in your friendship or even business and professional circles. Maybe you are that parent that is more cooler minded, and you are able to level out the emotional energy of your counterpart, your partner. which is, believe it or not, having that degree of emotional intelligence is something that is very commendable. And many of us are starting to awaken more into our emotional power and having and taking more emotional integrity and how we treat each other and emotional responsibility, right? So you're teaching that to your family, and that's also a part of your life purpose. What are you teaching the generations to come, whether it's your direct children or it's the children of your siblings, making you the auntie, making you making you the uncle, or you're a grandparent, or you are the custodial guardian or teacher or active mentor in some way, whether it's in a religious setting or in a public setting. We have to be very mindful of the seeds that we plant, because the seeds that we plant don't just go into the soil, they go into the minds of our youth. And what do we want them to be left with when we are elderly? Do we want them to have more of those principles that we want to see when we are not able to take care of ourselves? Sometimes I think about how the generation is going to look in the future, and we're all going to be tatted up and pierced up, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. And I'm actually excited. I like difference. I'm a chaotic being. I'm a yin dominated being, but I also walk in the light energy as well. I work with both. So I do love the creative expression of us all, but I'm also hoping that we're being mindful of living too liberatedly and not thinking a little bit about our future, being not enough Saturn minded, so to speak. Which brings me to this question to ask you right now to consider, and that is, how are you, with all of that said, currently performing acts of Dharma? How are you giving back locally, globally? How are you taking accountability emotionally? And how are you putting and planting those seeds that will produce results, that will bring forth fruit that you will want to eat? Next, let's take a look at your divine purpose and what it is not. Your divine purpose can turn out to be many different things, but here is what your divine purpose is not, honey, okay? Your divine purpose is not magical, psychic, or spiritual abilities alone. It doesn't stop there. Now, it can certainly start there, but it does not stop there. The magical aspect of living, whether you actively or passively, because we all perform magic through your conscious thought, that is magic, because word creates worlds. Words create worlds. Your psychic abilities, whether you are claircognizant, clairsentient, clairvoyant, etc., and your spiritual abilities, if you're able to align your chakras easily, feel frequencies, be in tune with nature, that is all a beautiful, unique addition to the entirety of the full self. So I will have to break it to you right here, my friend, that your divine purpose is not magical, spiritual, and psychic alone, abilities alone. Think about your soul. If you are thinking about a divine self, or yourself in and through the divine mind space, your psychic, magical, and spiritual abilities are feeble to the divine self. Now, to the physical self, they are amazing because it is your self-discovery back to your divine self. But your divine self isn't to get caught up in your magical, psychic, and spiritual capabilities, because that is what will create an egoic confliction within you. The key is to make you believe in yourself, but not to get lost in that belief, and to turn and transmute that belief into knowing. The second part of what your divine life purpose, or your divine purpose is not, is these gifts that you have, again, will help you to connect your dots. So it is not your reason for existing. Now, that could be more tied to your life purpose, figuring out your magical skills, figuring out your spiritual nature, figuring out how to balance your chakras by working with Reiki or other energy methods such as prana, breath work, etc. But what your psychic, magical, and spiritual gifts do instead is they help you to connect those dots between power that is within you and your purpose as you've descended here on earth. It is always going to be changing as well, my friends. It is not going to be something that is going to be one thing for your entire existence. The soul is always evolving. So why not would your path at times change, your desire change, your influence of what calls to you change? It is not this journey that you are on as an eternal being when you start to think again through your divine high mind. The path that you are on is not a final one. You might be saying, well, why not? There's death in life. That's in the physical life form. In the divine form, you are an eternal flame. You are the eternal source, an extension of, okay? So as an extension of the eternal source or an extension of the most supreme, your journey and your path can always change at any whim because it is not a final journey, because you are not final. It is not anyone else's responsibility to help you identify, to help you explore, to help you to know and believe. The responsibility is a massive one, but it falls and reflects upon you. You have to be dedicated to your path. You have to find your path. You have to decide, what tools do I need on my path? Do you need a machete? Do you need a pot? Have you ever seen when these folks go out into the woods on one of those survival shows and they can only bring with them a certain set of survival tools or items? So they'll bring one or two or three things. You have to decide what one or two or three things that you're going to bring with you. There's no one else to map out this path. It has never been traversed before. And let me tell you something, not everyone walks their divine path. If you're still here and you're still engaged and you're still listening, you are a chosen one and you're meant to do it. So, which brings us to a very important part, and that is helping you to begin to identify how you can find your divine purpose. And I'm going to give you a very easy way of doing this. I kind of gave some of you a tip on how to do this earlier. So get out your pens and papers, kiddos. I got something good for you. So here's how you are going to begin to identify your divine purpose. And this is going to start with you looking at your nature. Unofficial homework assignment number 1. And again, this is unofficial, but I recommend that you head over to my blog. The information is in the description. It's on my website. I drafted a very interesting post on how you can begin to identify your nature and your personal power. Literally, you'll be able to connect yourself to your magical abilities as well as your spiritual abilities that you've incarnated with in this lifetime, all by just looking at your name. Okay, so I give some really powerful suggestions and tips on how to do that. So by all means, reading is fundamental. Do not let your minds shrivel away without giving it some food for thought. So this is a good way to exercise your brain power and to exercise the art of reading, okay? Now, next, I do want to suggest, if you are really interested in knowing what your nature is, you should look at your numerology, because again, your nature is going to be connected to your soul's purpose. It's going to give you those connections and connect those dots to see, oh, okay, if my nature is naturally most powerful like this or in this form, that means that on a soul level, my soul wanted to express this part of me or express this power or this archetypal energy most in this lifetime. Or it could work the other way. Maybe you have an excess of this energy and it's here to be neutralized, not suppressed, but neutralized. Okay. So you can certainly find your numerology chart readers for free. There are a bunch of them if you just do a quick internet search for them. Okay. Next, we've talked about this, do this through astrology, general natal birth chart. Again, in particular, I want you to look at your Chiron placements and your North Node. You can take a look as well at your sun sign. The sun sign is, again, your soul's true purpose and how it likes to express itself. But I do tend to relate the sun sign to be more so in connection to how we appear on a personality expressed type of way. But if you're interested in knowing on a soul level why you are here, you can take a look as well at the South Node. The South Node is more reflective in what directly happened in a past life. So if you wanted to look at that to ensure that you are not repeating habits that are transitioning into this current life, then please take a look at the South Node placement. Okay. Now that I don't recommend that for everybody. Sometimes we don't need to. Some people don't want to look at a past life because it could be triggering. I personally don't like to look too much at a past life and see what events happened. I want to focus more on the now. I don't like the distraction, but they do help to help you break cycles and to break generational curses that you may have placed on yourself or that may be placed on a familial or a family level. Okay, so we don't want to totally rule out the South Node placement in past lives. Finally, if you are into the Vedic type of astrology, if you don't want to do the natal chart, you can do natal chart style. You can do Vedic astrology, which will give you, I find Vedic astrology to be very detailed, so much where I do want to dedicate at least 6 months where hopefully if I can take a trip to travel some places, maybe on a cruise, putting that out there, I will spend time where I can just study this topic in great detail. Any of you who know some good resources, by all means, each one teach one, drop us a link in the description. Or if you know a spiritual teacher who is very good at teaching Vedic astrology, by all means, please share. If you are yourself, if you have a business link, drop it in, okay? We're a community and a family here. All right. But last but not least, I want you to be mindful of certain other alignments that are less talked about, not so popular, but will also help you to connect to your soul nature. By the way, I have a special guest in the building, everybody. It is my Frenchie. Okay. So if you hear any snoring in the background, all right, don't be alarmed. I did have lunch already. He's just enjoying his afternoon nap, and my voice tends to put him to sleep. Does it do it for you too? Let me know. Anyhow, the celestial alignments that I want to discuss with you will help you to identify what your nature is, that again is connected to your soul's reason and your soul's divine purpose. What are these celestial alignments? All right, let me tell you. First and foremost, you will find a link to each of the 3 that I will be naming in just a moment. Again, in the description, you will find the link to each of the 3 that I will be naming in just a moment. Now, the first one, okay? Number one is called the human design. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may have not, but it's more of a newer concept. It's newer to me, all right? And the human design is a concept in which your soul is calculated based on the information that you input, which is connected to your birthday. And it does help you to assess literally the purpose of your soul and how the archetype, I should say, how the archetypal imprint that your soul has in this lifetime and how it can work with the greater collective. It's very interesting, and I may not be doing the best of job of describing it, but nonetheless, I do want you to research that on your own by going to the link that I do provide in the description. The second is by taking a look at your Mayan astrology placement. So there is a way for you to look at your Mayan astrology on a Mayan, I guess, astrological chart link. And there is some very, very interesting information that you'll find there about your soul's reason for being, let's call it. And last but not least, there is a link. I'll try to find it, but it's related to your astrological dominant energy. So when you put in the certain information, again, your birthday, your name, whatever, it's going to highlight which element or which elemental energy, earth, fire, air, or water. I believe it considers ether as well, but I know it definitely focuses around the four primary ones, at least in Western culture, because I know there's also wood and there's also metal. But nonetheless, it will tell you what is the most dominant energy in regards to the four cardinal points and the four members of the watchtower and the four archangels, Uriel, Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. Now, they do not acknowledge the angels in this particular link. It will only provide to you the astrological placements that you have according to your natal birth chart. And then it will have a section that will tell you what is your dominant power. That's key, because when you know what your dominant power is of your chart, you're able to manipulate the energy around you using the techniques of that elemental force. So I know that's a lot, which is why I want to recommend that if you feel so encouraged to, let me help you discover your spiritual nature and begin to uncover and develop some of your magical abilities. We can do this together in one of my consultations, which is a 50 to 60-minute call. Sometimes we go over with no additional charge to you. That will help you to cultivate a smart plan. Yes, I worked in corporate America for 15 plus years as a learning and development facilitator and talent development specialist, manager, trainer, you name it, I did it. And one of the things I'm really freaking good at doing is helping you to take chaos and apply order to it. And together we will work on SMART goals. If you've not heard of SMART goals, or if you have, you know what I'm talking about. We'll put together a SMART goal that will land for sure. As long as you follow things through, it will land you right in place to where you want to be, right on this very topic. Okay? So just head over to my website and book your session whenever you're ready. Now let's take a look at acting on purpose in your purpose. So now that we know how to find our nature, now that we know what divine purpose is versus what life purpose is, let's see how we can start acting on purpose in our purpose. Simply done. First and foremost, you can do this without even doing any research. Just follow your intuitive divine sparks. Follow your joy. Follow what makes you happy. Get in touch with your intuition. Sit in silence. Just breathe. Just sit in the sun. Just listen to the birds. Just go into nature and go for a walk. If you don't have nature near you, you can look up nature and listen to the sounds. If you can't do that, just sit where you are and imagine nature. If your imagination is shot out and you can't do that, just breathe. Pretend that you are the tree. And if you can't do that, literally just breathe. Just breathe and find your center. Put your hand on your heart. Just sit and be still. And then you'll find that intuition. You'll hear a small, tiny voice, the one that's soft and gentle, the one that you have to focus on to hear it. Because for those of you who do struggle with some mental illness and you might hear other voices, and I do recommend that you seek help, please, if you can talk to somebody about it. But if you feel that you have this under control, drown out those other voices. Tell them to hush. And find your center and listen to the divine sparks that lead you to joy. And that joy is always going to be something that puts love into the world, not harm to yourself or harm to others. Know what it is that you want. This means that you got to get off your ass. You got to get the F out there. You got to start exploring. When you hear that divine hunch, like we just talked about, tell you to go to the store and take the bike. Don't drive because it's right around the corner, or walk, or bring your bottle of water because you might get thirsty along the way after that walk. All of those things, follow those nudges, explore the world, go out and travel. If it's a day trip, if it's just to another town just to see what their high school looks like, whatever it is, get out of your comfort zone, bring a little bit of positive chaos to ignite that good change, to influence that good currency of adaptation and transmutation, to bring forth some of that good feel that you want day to day. Because it's going to be through those life experiences where your soul is going to say, ooh, it's going to spark and waken up like, and it's going to say, wait a minute, I am ready to expand. I am self-aware. I want to try this, and I want to try that, and I want to try that, and that, and that, and that, that. And it wants to just bring all of this fun, childlike joy out. You'll feel like a child. You'll feel giddy. You'll feel silly, but you won't care. You won't care, because when you get to that spot, that's how you know you're in the sweet spot. And again, it's through these life experiences that you follow from those intuitive sparks that you get once you explore. You can then expand your awareness, ultimately, of the self. And let me tell you something, being able to identify those intuitive nudges, it's crucial. It can save your life. It can save someone else's life. And it can also put you on a path of personal purpose. So again, you're going to connect to your intuition to follow that inner spark that will bring you into soul alignment, that will bring you into your divine purpose. So one of the ways that you're going to do this is by strengthening your relationship with self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is one of the tools that you will learn if you begin to study your emotional intelligence scale. Now, within emotional intelligence, we have 4 to 5 different factors. And I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll talk about those principles in a separate video, and we'll do a deep dive on what emotional intelligence actually is. Because I do have a personal take on it, and that is adding a spiritual quotient as something to consider as well. But once you have a good and heightened sense of self-awareness, self-awareness is a superpower. Being self-aware and highly self-aware is the key to powerful intuition. Knowing when you feel fuzzies in your stomach because something good is coming, or knowing when you have what feels like flutters in your heart, that feels like anxiousness, that usually reminds you that something not so good is coming. Being able to identify how synchronicities work and operate around you. Maybe your synchronicities show up to you in the form of birds. Perhaps it shows up to you in the form of numbers, or maybe it shows up to you in the form of color and style and model and type of vehicles that you see on the road day to day. It doesn't matter. It can happen to each of us differently. This is your soul communicating to you. Which brings us to your shadow work homework. Oh yeah, I did tell you I was a trainer for 15 plus years. So I am a firm believer in reinforcing the lessons that we covered today. So you have some homework, folks. Yeah. So go ahead. Don't you leave right now. Get your pen and paper out. Write this down. Okay. So your homework for today, I want you to do some research. Yep. You're going to do some research. Yes, you are. I want you to research yourself under one bracket of knowledge from the following list. Research yourself by using name numerology. Research yourself by using your birthday numerology. You can research yourself by either using the tropical, typical natal chart astrology, or you can choose to research yourself using the lovely Vedic astrology. Now, once you've used one of those mentioned methods, using the archetypal energies found within your personal characteristics, answer the following. What psychic, spiritual, magical, or elemental powers do I naturally possess? In which ways do I most enjoy working with my spiritual nature? For example, is it through meditation, dance, through chanting, scripting, candles? I am most interested in expanding my spiritual power through studying more on insert topic. And finally, how do I want to share these gifts with the world? Now, do note that I am not asking you, how will you? That will come to you naturally and over time. Rather, I want you to look at your inner desire. How do you want to share these gifts with the world? Well, my friends, that closes out our session today, and I'm so happy that you stayed with me this long. I hope that you apply some of the lessons that we learned here today, and let me know your thoughts. I'd love, love, love hearing from you. And until the next time, my friends, Love Naturally is out.